Hello and welcome to the FanDuel Punch-Out. I'm Big Italy 42 here talking about this small little 6-game slate we have tonight. And as far as pitching options go, it's much different than the last few nights. We had a lot of aces on the mound. It was pretty much which ace did you have? Did you find the middle guy that went off? But not a lot of options tonight. Your obvious top option is going to be Garrett Cole, minus 200 favorite against a Miami team that one of the worst offenses in all of baseball as far as WOBA, Team ISO, runs scored, all of these things against right-handed pitching. So Garrett Cole at $10,000 makes a lot of sense here tonight. He's actually the second most expensive option, but I think he's easily your top cash game play. He's going to be the chalk play. And this seems like one of those nights where we're going to see 60 to 70%, I would imagine, of him, maybe even higher. But he's the guy I'm easily going with tonight. You've got a couple other options. You've got Joe Ross at $8,100 against a Padres offense that has been better of late, but still a struggling offense. Ross also had a couple subpar performances there against San Francisco and Los Angeles out in California. But outside of that, he's been very good this season. He's got great overall numbers. Even over his last 30 days, his numbers, he has struggled a little bit, 20.7% strikeout rates, 1.3 home runs per nine. Obviously, that is what he was struggling with out in California, giving up too many home runs. But on the season, his numbers look very good, 23.7% strikeout rates on the season, 49.1% ground ball rate, and 12.8% swing and strike rate is even better. And this is a Padres offense, like I know you know, tends to disappear quite often. So, like I said, Garrett Cole's the chalk, but if you can't afford him, I don't think Joe Ross is a bad secondary option. He is listed as the favorite here in this game. You obviously wish that it was in San Diego because that'd be a nice little park downgrade for hitters, but in Washington, not bad. Minus 160, only a 7.5 run total. Only game with lower total is the Pittsburgh game, where Garrett Cole is your obvious top option. So I like Joe Ross as well. Carlos Martinez is another option, but he's more expensive than Garrett Cole. Hasn't been great recently. Given up 3 or more in runs of 4 of his last 5 games. He's allowed 7, 9, 6, and 10 hits in his last 5. He's done better at limiting walks, which was a big concern for him earlier in the season. But this is a guy that I think is more of a GPP option tonight, at least for me. He's not in a terrible spot here, but it is in Arizona against a team that's been hitting well. They've been mashing better pitchers than him. He's a marginal favorite, minus 125, 8-run total here. So for me, I'll probably get some exposure, but it's probably just going to be in GPPs due to his price tag and things like that. Another interesting option, Carlos Rodon, $8,300. He's been great over his last 3 starts, 22, 11, and 14 FanDuel points. The last 2 he didn't get the win either one. But gone at least 7 innings in each one of those games. 11, 5, and 8 strikeouts. Still does have the issues with walks, 4, 3, and 1 in those games, but has allowed 4, 4, and 6 hits in those games. So not allowing a ton of actual hits, not allowing a lot of runs either. And facing a Seattle team who he actually faced last time out, did not get the win in that game, but pitched very well. Obviously a park upgrade to U.S. Cellular Field now from Safeco, but I think he's still a fine option tonight with some big-time upside. You got to navigate guys like Jose Abreu, but not many other hitters are really worried about there against lefties. A lot of these best hitters are left-handed, so I like him probably as my favorite tournament option. If you're looking for cheap guys, there's not a lot there. Ruby De La Rosa is the guy who really struggles with left-handed batters. Otherwise, I'd be looking at him against the Cardinals. But being a righty and struggling with lefties, I think 7,300, I think he's still an okay option because this is a guy that misses some bats. He's got a nice strikeout rate at times, but does struggle with the long ball, 1.44 per 9. Keeps the ball on the ground at 50.2, but what you do like here is the 11.3% swing and strike rate, which among all the qualified pitchers tonight is number 1. So certainly has upside, but does not come without risk. So I think you can give him a look as well, but not a guy I feel great about. Another guy you could look at, but he is very, very up and down. Roenis Elias, $7,700 against the White Sox and Rodon. This is a White Sox team that does not hit left-handed pitching well at all. One of the worst in all of baseball against lefties. So Elias, if he has it going, he certainly has upside. Had a 10 strikeout game against Houston. Hint, hint, Houston. But right before that, he went 3 1/3 and got rocked, negative points. Game following that, he went 3 2/3, negative points. So, he's the ultimate boom or bust type of play for tonight. But for me, it's going to be Cole and it's going to be Ross and then mostly Rodon in tournaments. On a short slate, not a lot of options at each position. Catcher for me, it's easily Travis d'Arnaud against Aaron Herring. He's allowed 1.33 home runs per 9 over the past 30 days. Darno over his last 4 games, 2 homers, 4 doubles. I mean, he's absolutely locked in. Saw him bat 8th the other day, too. You obviously hope he gets a bump up in the order, but even if he doesn't, I think he's a fine option. Cameron Rupp, another guy that's been on fire. You look at what he's done recently. Last game, 2 hits and a double. Homered in each of the 2 games prior to that. He's gotten on base 9 straight games. Another one of those guys, not a good lineup position, but he's hit lefties very well. John Neese, as we know, lefty. Slightly above average lefty, but not a guy you're shying away from. So I think Cameron Rupp, not a household name, but I think a good guy to target in your GPPs. Wilson Ramos, another guy to consider. Andrew Cashner has been very good against righties, but Ramos has been hot recently. He's got homers in 2 of his last 3 games. I think that's a fine option for you there. And then if you're looking for cheap, it's going to be one of those situations where you're looking to see what guys you can find in good lineup spots because it's barren down here. Punt play of the week, John Jaso is facing lefty, so you imagine he probably will not be in the lineup tonight. Other guys down there all the way down. If Francisco Cervelli cannot go, Chris Stewart is a men's salary play against a lefty. I much prefer Francisco Cervelli, but at 2,600, he's day-to-day right now. They said he was limping on both feet, so that does not sound good for his prognosis, but I'll probably just go ahead and take whichever Pittsburgh guys in the lineup there as my punt play. First base options, Jose Abreu's at the top here for me against the lefty and Elias. $4,200 for him. Hasn't hit lefties quite as well this season as he did last year, but certainly the best play on the slate here. Paul Goldschmidt, a little bit more expensive. Certainly love him. He's got that incredibly high floor, big-time upside. Much tougher matchup, though, against Carlos Martinez, who is actually pretty good against right-handed batters. He is allowing on the season a 272 WOBA, just 3 home runs and 78 2/3. So definitely not a great matchup, but we know he can exploit any type of matchup here. Michael Kadire, though, is your cheap special. I mean, he was $2,800 last night. He's $28 tonight. Each of his last 2 starts, he has over 10 FanDuel points. Last night, 3 hits, a double, and a homer with 3 RBIs. Last time he started 2 games before that, 3 hits, 2 doubles, and a home run. Guy's locked in. He's incredibly cheap tonight. He's probably the guy I'll be going to more often than not when I'm paying up for Cole. He's just in a great spot here. And then a couple other guys you could consider, but you don't feel great about him. One guy, if you see him in the lineup, Darren Ruff, men's salary, $2,200 against the lefty and Nice. I think he's your punt play. And then as you're looking in the middle here, really nobody stands out. You can look at Ryan Zimmerman against Andrew Cashner, but Cashner has actually been very good against righties. Been bad against lefties, but against righties, just a 280 WOBA allowed. So I think he's a secondary GPP option. Second base actually has a decent amount of options for you here. You got Daniel Murphy, who continues to hit well against Harang at 4,200. You got Brian Dozier against the lefty at 33. Logan Forsythe also against the lefty at 33. Take your pick with those 3 guys. I think they're easily your top options. As you're looking for cheaper guys, there's one guy that really stands out as cheap option, Colton Wong, to pick on Ruby De La Rosa's $399 WOBA against lefties. Wong will be the way that I'll be going if I can't afford these other guys. He's doubled in back-to-back games. He's $2,300, near minimum salary, so he's the obvious punt play here. And I mean, he's the guy that I'll be playing more often than not if I can't afford these guys. But like I said, I want to get a Dozier, a Forsythe, or a Murphy in my lineup if I can. D. Gordon's a tournament option. Did steal 4 bases in his last game. Obviously, we know the type of speed he has, but it's a tough matchup against Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's actually been very good against left-handed batters, 269 WOBA allowed. So not a guy you're trying to pick on really ever, but I think for a tournament you can look his way a little bit. And same goes for Anthony Rendon, 3,500 against Cashner. Third base options, there are not a lot. Miguel Sano up top, $4,600 against the lefty. This guy's got massive power, 5 home runs in his last 9 games. Got to love him tonight. David Wright in a righty-righty matchup against Aaron Harang. He's in play, certainly. And then you're looking at lefties from St. Louis again. Matt Carpenter against De La Rosa, $3,500. Great mid-range play right there for you. Another guy, Andres Blanco, just continues to hit the ball well. Another double last night. Gets John Neese, $2,900. A lot of these Philly guys are sneaky, cheap values. I like him, but your cheap, obvious play here, once again, is going to be Evan Longoria facing the lefty. Homered last night, hit a double as well. Was really struggling before that, but he has over a 400 WOBA against lefties this year. So while he may be struggling overall, he's not struggling against lefties. I like that. And then Josh Harrison at $2,400, another option for you. If you want Pittsburgh bats, because they are tied with the Mets for the highest team total. And then Aramis Ramirez, who really hasn't done much since coming over back to Pittsburgh, but he's certainly an option tonight as well. Shortstop, It's going to start with Jung Ho Gong up top, $3,600 against the lefty. Once again, it's a Pirates bat. You're going to notice a lot of these same teams being talked about, but only 6 games on the slate, so not a whole lot of options. As Drupal Cabrera continues to crush the ball since the break, got to love him at $3,500 as well. Another Mets bat, Wilmer Flores, got multi-hit games in 5 of his last 7. He's a good option at $3,300. Our special of the day, courtesy of our friend here, Spencer, he loves Eduardo Escobar. He and I were talking about it the other day. We mentioned it on the podcast. $2,600 for him. He does not have a good lineup spot, but as a tournament option, he is a great one. Hit 2 homers last night, has 2 RBI games in 3 of his last 5. He's got 4 doubles in his last 7 games, so he's a good, cheaper option if you want to look that way. Johnny Peralta, you don't like targeting righties against Ruby De La Rosa, but $2,500 for him makes a lot of sense as a cheap option if you need it in Chase Field. Outfield options, there's a lot. I'll kind of go through these rapid fire for you. Nelson Cruz gets a lefty. Andrew McCutchen also gets a lefty. Take your pick there. I slightly prefer McCutchen here against Justin Nicolino rather than Cruz against Rodon, but I don't think you certainly cannot go wrong with either one. Cruz has homered in back-to-back games, now up to 39 on the season. Bryce Harper is a lefty against Cashner, another elite option for you there. Looking down a little bit, you've got Yoenis Cespedes at $4,300 and his teammate Curtis Granderson at $3,300. Those guys are great options. Starling Marte and Jason Hayward both at $38. Both lefties, Jason Hayward a lefty and the perfect split against De La Rosa. Starling Marte a righty against the lefties. Got great numbers against lefties as well. And as you scroll down here a little bit further, Franklin Gutierrez has been mashing left-handed pitching. Hit a homer last time he started as well. So $3,300 for him. Nice tournament option. Denard Span, a lefty, to pick on Andrew Cashner and his struggles there. And then as you scroll down cheaper, not a whole lot that really stands out for you here. Mark Trumbo, as we know, throughout his career hits lefties very well. Homers in 3 of his last 4 games, so he's really starting to heat up. $2,800. I think he's a great option for you there as well. Byron Buxton you can consider against Drew Smiley, $2,600 for a cheap option for you there. And then as you look all the way down, you got very few other options that really stand out. You got guys like Brandon Geyer, should be leading off, I would imagine, against a lefty. He's probably your best cheap play against Tommy Malone tonight. Marcelo Zuna has been hitting, but he gets Garrett Cole, so that's going to be tough. $2,500 for him. And that's really the cheapest that I'm trying to go tonight. So that is going to wrap things up. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out all of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.